Welcome back to Crypto Odyssey, where we talk about all things crypto, including technical analysis, fundamental analysis, news, updates, XRP, BTC, you name it, we have it here. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Bitcoin chart, specifically on the free weekly, before jumping into shorter time frames. Taking a look at the stochastic RSI at the bottom, we can see that we've just got a stochastic RSI cross. This is very, very bullish because the last time that we had this was roughly about 203 or 224 days ago. Price essentially, when it had that stochastic RSI cross, it rallied a whopping 100%, which is nothing short of excellent, really. I mean, the price speaks for itself. Are we going to see another radical move like that? Quite possibly. I mean, given the fact that we've already moved roughly 31%, there is potential that we are to see a retracement to the downside. Whether that comes in now or before we reach this 105k level, we will have to look on the shorter time frames to see what that is telling us. But this free weekly chart is looking beautiful. We have this bullish cross, and if we look on the monthly, we're about to get one here. The last time that we had one was on October the 1st, where we rallied a whopping 86%. So these don't come around every single day. You know, this is a higher time frame, and what this is telling us is that momentum is starting to move to the upside. This is consistent with our thesis and our analysis in other areas as well. We also have this Fibonacci retracement, and I've drawn it from the high here down to the low back. Let me just confirm where that low is. Yeah, that low comes in roughly around 50k, and you can see that we just played the levels beautifully. Let's just get onto a shorter time frame so that we can see this more clearly. It's easier to see the levels being played here. Ever since we dropped off this 786 level, we essentially fell down to this 0.5, where we bounced between the 0.5 and the 618 before dropping down just above the 382. What we've done is we've just flown through those levels, and now we're coming up to resistance. And I call this resistance because not only is it the 786, but also, let's just get a circle up here, it proved quite significant resistance here, as well as here. We were unable really over this time frame to find support and consolidate above it, and that's essentially what led to our downtrend. And you can see that it's pretty conclusive now that we have broken this trend, this multi-month trend, and Bitcoin is ahead of the curve when we compare to other cryptos like XRP, which has only recently just confirmed a few free daily closes. However, given the fact that we have risen now, let's have a look, roughly 31% from these lows that we set at the end of March, about 74,000. It's likely we are to see a pullback of some kind. Where are we going to pull back? Well, let's have a look, because this level right here, just at the bottom of my yellow circles here, is where we've kind of kissed this level quite a few times. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we broke down. It's plausible that we come back down. I think it'll be about a 5-6% move. Let's just have a look. Yeah, roughly 5-6%, back down to this level around 91, 92k. Let's just call it 92k as a round off. I wouldn't be surprised we see a 6% pullback, given the fact that we had a 31% move to the upside. And looking at our indicators on these lower time frames, I mean, this is a 3 daily time frame. It looks like we're about to get across to the downside. If we jump into, the daily, we've been spending a significant amount of time in this region, which is implying that there's not that much longer. I know we are postured to the upside here, and we could still see potentially a move of, let's say, 10% up into the 105k region before we come back down for a bit more of a deeper correction. However, this correction is nothing to be afraid of, I think, in the medium term. I think that we're just about to experience a pullback in the short term before going up, essentially in the medium term, hopefully looking for those levels of 150k, which is lining up quite nicely with the 1618 in the periods of December at the end of this year. roughly. It would be a nice round off to the year, and it would imply that we see this big blow off top and potentially a macro top forming at that region. Now, is that my macro top prediction? Not yet. You will have to wait for a future video on that. However, given what we're seeing in the charts, given the fact that on the higher time frames, on the monthly, on the 3 weekly, we're seeing indicators show us that momentum is shifting to the upside. This downtrend that we've broken from is now flipping, and we're seeing a reversal to the upside. I like to think that over the medium term, Bitcoin has a bright future ahead of significant price increase. However, retail right now is going to start stepping in, and I have no doubt about that, because Bitcoin is at 97,000 and is due for a retracement, which is fitting for retail to step in and essentially get flushed out. We want to do the opposite of what retail is doing. We want to be contrarian in this market. And I do think that given the fact that we've had this 31% move, it's likely that we'll see a pullback roughly to that 92K level before consolidating a little bit. And, you know, it's boring to say sideways is the way here, but it is looking like that might be the case, that the probability of sideways and down in the short term is likely. However, you know, Bitcoin is looking very good at the moment. We've rallied up. We've seen resistance coming in at 0.76. We've reached that 0.76. It makes sense that we'll go down and essentially bottom out on this 91, 92K level and consolidate. Now, is it scary if we drop down even further? Well, I think that really our line in the sand before it starts to get really scary is this 86K level. We don't want to drop below this 618 because that's going to indicate something deeper, that this is starting to look like a top now. This level here is starting to look like a significant top. And then what we would be forming here essentially is a lower high before the market starts to move to the downside. I wouldn't want to see that. You know, the market is rolling here if that's the case. You know, especially if we take out these lows, then it's kind of game over. I think that we've already found support above this level. We came back and touched it. There's no reason to really do that again, because given what that paints on the charts here, it looks like it is a blow off top. So I think that what would be nicer is if we consolidate above the 92K level and really push forward, given that the higher time frames are in our favor and the indicators are showing us that there is still momentum to the upside. So if you enjoyed the analysis today, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe for future videos. I'm coming out with videos on a daily basis covering all types of crypto, from XRP, ADA, BTC. If you have any suggestions for other cryptos, do leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow in the next one. Peace out.